hell of a thing. Trump will lie when the truth will do. Trump lies again. I don't know, I guess this is some kind of new format. Lies again in front of a national leader in his office, it has become. South African president is the national leader. Here it is.
And this is all, I'll give these to you.
We're gonna now go to Daniel Dale because there is a lot to unpack here. Let's just start with what we believe is happening there. I mean, you see the president holding up what he says is evidence of what he claims is genocide, as David Chalian said, and I want you to add to this. Those are unsubstantiated claims. What he did by bringing a video into the Oval Office, televisions just aren't hanging out in the Oval Office. This was a very scripted, strategic move. And what they played looked like some kind of video which you could hear the president saying, this is proof of, President Trump saying this is proof of genocide. And the South African president was kind of forced to figure out how to play it on the fly. And I believe I heard him saying something like, we'll look into it.
Oh, President Cyril Ramaphosa, he doesn't know what to do here, man. I mean, Trump is a liar. Hey, you just gotta say that. It's the only way to deal with this cat. All right, let's go to it. Put it up full mass. Individuals who come to the White House typically come in good faith, but there is no good faith extended by the commander and wannabe dictator. So as part of his ambush during Wednesday's visit of the South African president, Donald Trump provided what he said was actual proof that South Africa was engaged in genocide against white farmers. But it turns out one of the photos shown by Trump himself during his multimedia presentation was actually taken in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which is located in southern Africa. But it is not part in any shape, form, or fashion of South Africa led by the black man who is their president sitting next to Donald Trump. Now, for MAGA, I know you don't give a damn, all black people are basically the same. But I will say this very clearly. Donald Trump can barely figure out how the American map works, evidenced by his blunders on air, let alone how, well, another continent may work. So the photo, screen grab by the way, from a video taken in February showing Red Cross workers responding after women were sexually assaulted and burned alive during a mass jailbreak in the city of Goma. This was part of a contentious presentation that ultimately seemed more about embarrassing the president of South Africa than getting to a substantial solution. Trump claimed he was turning a blind eye to a mass killing of white farmers that is actually not happening. We've covered this in detail at Indisputable. There was little conversation between the two leaders. The meeting was dominated by Trump and his false claims, kind of the way he leads the presidency here. Trump followers have clung hard to the Trump administration's lies, and this is why he does it. About South Africa, part of a wider narrative of white victimhood that also strains, well, the credibility. One photo is not going to change their mind about the so-called genocide, which paved the way for resettlement of 59 refugees. They call them the colonizers who are currently in Africa, whose ancestors engaged in apartheid. So, quote, he may have got that wrong. Doesn't necessarily cancel out all the rest, wrote one MAGA devotee. Similarly, when Palestinians were caught posing with dolls as babies, it doesn't mean there are no killings taking place in Gaza. Quote, yes, it's time to recognize that white people can get mistreated also, she continued. Where do I start? Okay. So according to Trump, it is okay to produce false evidence in order to make your case. A case that, if true, you should have ample actual evidence to be available, presented, etc. But you don't. You're the president of the United States of America. I'm sure you have access to a drone or two that could take pictures if actual genocide was happening, rather than depending on screen grabs from, let's say, a social media account that simply has doctored a photo for you. You've done this more than once, Donald Trump. MAGA, however, they don't really care about evidence. They never have. They don't care about the Constitution, evidenced by the fact they tried to overturn it in their attempted terrorist attack. But MAGA was not swayed. They were also unmoved by billionaire South African businessman Joanne Peter Rupert, who tried to assure the president that there was no white genocide taking place in his country. Rupert was part of the delegation who accompanied the South African president to the Oval Office. Quote, "It's interesting that my European friends have been talking about this situation for quite a while world media has ignored it, coming from a MAGA voice. But hey, let's believe the billionaire. I thought we were supposed to hate billionaires. You guys got to make your damn minds up now. I mean, one day you love the billionaire, the next day you hate them. Did you realize Trump told you he was a billionaire, likely lied about it, but that's what he said he was. You elected him, billionaire from New York, going to rescue the deep, deep Southern discrimination against white people. This is a money grab, MAGA. You got to stop falling for this. If you voted for Donald Trump because you believed that he would deliver your bigoted agenda, at least today you know that cannot be true any longer. Here's why. The tariffs are indiscriminate, right? So you're hurting now. Those layoffs, a whole lot of white women got laid off too. You're hurting. You voted for Trump. The farmers, your subsidies are gone. They're dealing with farmers, white farmers in Africa better than they're dealing with you. So understand, you have been betrayed. You have been betrayed. Now I get it, as long as you thought that people who look like me were losing, you were okay with it. I'm willing to let that go as long as you are willing to tell the damn truth today. You voted for a tyrant. You voted for a man that could care less about you. You said yes to all of his cronies, including his other billionaire oligarchs like Elon Musk and the gang. They have all betrayed you because they never loved you. Hell, they don't even like you. They would not take a coffee, beer, or anything with you. Never. Well, not all billionaires are hated by MAGA. South African native Elon Musk, according to reports, the world's richest man and a key Trump ally, has been making the white genocide claim for several months. While he has not always used the term directly, his public statements, social media activity, and the behavior of his AI chatbot have amplified the allegation against his home country despite a lack of credible evidence. And speaking of lack of evidence, here's what Scott Jennings had to say.
How many white farmers have been murdered in
I don't
South
know,
Africa?
several. I mean, they asked.
No, how many? How many?
I don't know, several.
I know why you don't know. Because those numbers don't exist broken down by race.
I mean, I know this. I wouldn't trust the South African government to tell me. I know that.
How many black farmers have been murdered in South Africa?
Look, you guys are so triggered over 59 people.
There are 19,000 murders in South Africa. 36 were on farms. 7 of the farmers were victims. Okay, this is according to the South African police.
And you think the South African government is a credible source?
The other 29, hold on a second. The 29 victims who were included in the farm killings were farm employees who tend to be black. So the vast majority of people killed on farms in South Africa are black. Where is the concern about them?
The concern is that there are white farmers who have had violence committed against them, and they're being threatened. They're being threatened every single day. There's 59 people,
hold on a second.
and you're triggered about 59 people, and I don't know why.
I haven't mentioned anything about 59 people.
Substantiate white
why are you only concerned about white people?
Put it a full mass. Miss Abby Phillip, I know you're trying this, sister, and obviously you have to tolerate this nut. But the question stands, Scott, why are you only so concerned about white people? Ironically, the average white person in South Africa is doing very well because of apartheid. That's why, okay? On CNN's Newsnight, Abby Phillip grew extremely irritated with the rhetoric coming from the right. She flat out posed the question to conservative commentator Scott Jennings, quote, "Why are you only concerned with white people?" question. Jennings replied, quote, "I'm only concerned about this story because these 59 people asked for status. They're getting status, and now everybody's freaking out about it." He then said, if there was no threat to white South Africans, then why are they trying to get out? Scott, they're trying to get out because South Africa is utilizing common sense to create an equitable societal construct, and they don't like it. Now they would like to utilize the leverage of the United States of America, i.e. Donald Trump and his other cronies, in order to pressure the South African government to do their bidding, while at the same time these same individuals are applying for land rights and mineral rights to dig for valuable minerals in South Africa at the same time. All right. Sister, I know you have a lot to say about this. Reecie, what's on your mind?
Well, first of all, I do have to say there's one silver lining in these Afrikaners being granted asylum in the United States. It's punishment in and of itself. These people are so delusional that I read one person left a 5-bedroom home on beautiful land, left their dog behind, left their mama behind, to come over here and be holed up in a roach motel on the side of a highway.
Wow.
So you're so delusional about this fake persecution. He said that he got threats in a WhatsApp a message. I get more threats on Instagram than he probably got on WhatsApp. And I'm not fleeing my home, my beautiful home, to go be in somebody's roach motel in another country. And so there is some sort of poetic justice that these people who are such peasants that they cannot even hack it with the spoils of apartheid, that they think they're going to come over here and make it in America. They got another thing coming for them. But as far as Donald Trump, what's even more troubling about the fact that he's a liar is that he's also a propagandist. And he's a propagandist with the nuclear codes. He's the propagandist who's the commander in chief, who is the biggest weapon against our economy and against our healthcare system. And every single policy, I pointed this out on your show before, Dr. Richey, is based on a lie. And even worse, he has an administration that is propping up propaganda and making really horrible decisions that adversely impact everybody who's not a billionaire. Based on what? It's irrational, and yet it has the full support from the administration. This kind of lie in a blog post, the president was repeating a blog post, not a report from the CIA, not a report from any of the intelligence officials, any of the assessments. In fact, they tell them to undo the assessments when they don't say what they want to say. This is a national and international embarrassment, and Donald Trump is a joke. He was a joke to the South African president, who was really besting him without Donald Trump even having a clue. And he's a joke around the world. And unfortunately, the joke is on us.
Yeah, that's true. And I actually appreciated how the South African president dealt with it. He actually laughed at Trump multiple times. It was just hilarious to sit there and watch this show.